Fear Not, Episode 125. Hi, I'm Billy Atwell, and I believe that consistently facing your fears is the only way to realize your truest self and to make those confident choices that will help you to obtain your deepest held hopes and dreams. I have faith that this podcast series will show you that you are not alone, that it will strengthen you and give you courage to face your fears, and that it will help you to permanently cross over into a life of living beyond your fears. Join me on this journey as we listen and learn from others as they share their experiences in facing and overcoming their own fears. Hello, everybody. Today you and I are going to be joined by Brunhild Hoffmann. Welcome, Brunhild. How are you today?
I'm fine, Billy, and I'm a bit excited. And how are you, Billy?
I'm doing pretty great myself, and I'm really excited about having you on the show today. It took us a little time. It took us quite a few months to get you here today, but I'm really thrilled. So thank you so much for coming on today. Brunhild was curious and inquisitive as a teacher. She wanted to know what life was and what its essence was. She looked for those findings in natural sciences and studied biology, earning a diploma in biochemistry. Even during her studies, she realized that the answer to the questions of what life is was not just to be found in science. The pursuit of humanities and physical consciousness merged with her background in biochemistry into the basic principles on which she works as a coach. In 2007, she was certified as a psyche instructor by Rob Williams. Since then, her professional work has focused on instructing others in psyche and on life coaching using psyche methods, which bring in line what the heart feels, what the mind thinks, and what the hand is doing. Brunhild, can you take a few moments to fill in those gaps and maybe also give us a brief glimpse of your personal life?
Yes, okay, I can. First of all, I would like to say the following. I'm German, as you know, and my English isn't perfect. And so if you don't understand anything that I say, then please ask. Please ask.
Will do.
Okay. As I said, I'm German, and we live in an exciting time, I think. We have had peace in Europe, in Central Europe, for more than 70 years. And I'm very grateful and happy that me and my children can grow up and live in peace. So I'm also going to some public events to support peace in Europe in the last time. Then additionally, I love nature. When I was young, I did whitewater kayaking. My kayak is still in the basement, but now I prefer the canoe. And I'm still an enthusiastic skier, and I ski every winter, mostly in the Swiss Alps. I live in Darmstadt. This is a middle big town in close to Frankfurt in the middle of Germany. And here too, there's plenty of nature. I have a 5-minute walk to a swimming lake, and many forests are around. I also enjoy traveling, as I'm often on the road and doing workshops. And in August, I will visit United States for the instructor conference, and I'm looking forward to that. I have 3 children, and they are grown up now, 2 daughters and 1 son, and they are really my pride. I love them very much.
Yeah, that sounds all amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thanks.
Can we start off today by having you help us understand what fear is?
Okay, Billy. First of all, for me, it's important to distinguish one fear from another fear. The question is it a real fear that has its roots in the current reality? Or is it an anxiety that has nothing to do with reality, but more to do with my subconscious mind? And I would give examples for these 2 kinds of fears. The biggest fear I experienced in my life as an adult was the fear for my daughter. She was 70 years old and with her father alone on vacation in Albania, a small country in the south of Europe. Suddenly my cell phone rang, my daughter was on the phone, and she said, There was something terrible happening. Dad died. My breath stopped. In the following, my biggest fear was that my daughter could not handle this traumatic experience. First of all, she was alone there in Albania. Then she had to take responsibility to turn off the ventilation. I was afraid that her mind and her soul would be hurt forever. And today, 3 years later, I can say that she's really doing well. And that's absolutely great for me. This is, for me, a real fear. And there are other kinds of fears I want to explain or mention, and they have no cause in real events, but they are based in our perception of the world. This individual perception emerges through the filter of our subconscious beliefs. One example, when I go to a test and I've been well prepared and learned a lot, but I'm afraid of a mental blackout in the exam. This fear is based on the fact when I'm in a stressful situation, I tend to run away. Or perhaps as a child, I often heard from my father, "You will not be able to do that." This belief is stored in my subconscious mind and determines my actions. Since the subconscious mind affects more than 95% of our perception, this 95% control my actions and it will probably come to a blackout, although my consciousness tells me that I've learned enough and much. And here's another example of this kind of fear. My mother was a refugee girl at the end of the Second World War. She had to beg for every bite of bread. When my brothers and I were small, she constantly asked us to eat a lot. She filled us up properly, although we lived in wealthy circumstances. My grandmother always said, "It's good to have something on the ribs. You can need it in hard times." Both my mother and my grandmother lived in decades after the war, still in the fear of having too little to eat and not to be able to feed their children, although around them was fullness. Here's another example I want to talk about related to money. Many people want to earn a lot of money, or they want to have a lot of money, but actually they are stressed by money. They believe, for example, in their subconscious mind, "I'm not worth the money I earn," or "people who have money are bad people," or "you can get money or you can get love, but not both of it." And so subconsciously, they refuse having a lot of money and act appropriate. So these are some examples for different kinds of fears. I think we have to face real fears which happen now in reality and fears which are not, we only have the perception that that this will be a fear, but it's not like the example with my mother. We never had to fear that we will not have anything to eat, so, but we had to eat a lot.
Brunhild, can you discuss, for those of us who don't understand or even know about psyche, what is psyche?
Okay, psyche. Psyche, this is, I was very glad when I got to know, when I got to know psyche in 2005. Furthermore, I want to say that I work as a coach since 20 years. And 10 years ago, I by chance, I got to know this method, psyche. Psyche came into the world through Rob Williams, an American, in 1988. And originally, Psy meant psychology and K meant kinesiology. Today, psyche, we instructors say psyche stands for psyche, for soul. And when I got to know this method, I really was electrified. The goal of psyche is to discover one's own subconscious beliefs and then align them with conscious intent and goals. We do this while we test with a muscle test, à la psyche, what a person really believes. So to explain that, your muscles will be strong if you think of something you really like, and they will be weak if you think of something you dislike. And so we can test by the muscles if you like something or dislike it. Or, for example, if you say, my name is Billy, I think you will be strong. Your muscle, I cannot press your arm down. And if you say, my name is Veronica, for example, then can press your arm down easily. And so we can discover if something is really, really true for yourself. So through the muscle test, we get a kind of biofeedback of the body, and we connect with the body wisdom. And to return to the test example, the example of the exam, if I believe I will not be able to do the test without blackout, perhaps because my father always told me I'm not good enough or something like that, then the next step is to ask myself with psyche, what do I want instead? And we focus on what we want to experience in life. And the answer could be perhaps, I pass my exam with ease, or I'm celebrating after the examination with my friends. This new strong belief is anchored in the subconscious mind by a balance or by balancing, which we call the change process. And about the change processes, they are based on the one hand on the integration and connection of the two brain halves or the brain hemispheres, and on the other hand on the connection of the energy to the energy of unconditional love. We support or connect to unconditional love. And to explain the thing with the brain halves, often we human beings work only with one brain half and the other is blocked. Sometimes we can think clearly. I think everybody had made this experience already. Sometimes we think clearly, but we feel nothing to this thought. Then our left brain hemisphere is dominant. Or we are flooded by feelings but cannot think clearly. Then our right brain half dominates. Human potential is to be able to use both brain hemispheres at the same time, to think and feel simultaneously. Our goal is to think and immediately feel what this thought is doing to me, or to feel what situation is a trigger, and at the same time to think about whether these emotions are, for example, also appropriate or adequate. Does that make sense to you, Billy?
Yes, yes.
Okay, to me too. In the state when we activate this both hemispheres, and when they are activated, we can access our full potential, and it's easy to transform anxieties and stress triggered by the subconscious mind. And in the subconscious, experiences from our childhood are often stored. As children, we only had the choice to adapt to our environment. But the fears of our parents don't have to be our fears today. And this is a very important thing, that I think the most of the fears we have are not really our fears, which are results of our reality now today. The molecular biologist Dr. Bruce Lipton has researched the biological mechanism of beliefs and reported these researches in his book, The Biology of Belief. Dr. Bruce Lipton recommends psyche as an important change process. I had the luck to work with him, to give a workshop with him together in Germany. It was really joyful. At the beginning of a change process with psyche, we ask permission for this change. And this means we open ourselves for the universal wisdom. For me, it means to ask the blessings for the work to come. And important is to know that we don't think it's psyche, the method, which does the change. It's the power of the individual person who wants to change and who is guided by her or his higher self. So it's a kind of self-empowerment method. And I only help by holding space for the miracles that want to manifest themselves. And to come back now to what I wanted to say with my daughter, I think the most important attitude to handle fear, in my opinion, is connection. To be connected with our fellow human beings, with nature, with God, whatever you call him, God, and to act out of the energy of unconditional love is very important. And so we don't have to act only out of our own individual power, but we stand in a much stronger and much more supporting power. And this has cured my biggest anxiety related to the development of my daughter. We mourned, of course, and we experienced connection, both in small things and in more important matters. And of course, I balanced a lot with psyche, of course, to support that, to transform trauma and stress for my daughter and for me.
Brunhild, how might we use psyche to face fears? Maybe you could give us an example of where we might be able to start.
Okay, I can give the example that I was very excited before this interview or this podcast, and so I used psyche to transform the stress, and so I made up the belief. So I tested. The first was I tested the situation. I sit before the computer and look at Skype, and it's 6 p.m. and you will call me, and then I tested myself with the self-muscle testing, and I tested weak. When I test weak, it means I'm stressed, yeah, because it's nothing. So I don't enjoy this. I don't like the situation. But the goal is that I will enjoy it. So I made up some beliefs. For example, the belief I will enjoy this podcast, this interview, or I enjoy the podcast, or it's a grace. I have to translate it because, of course, I did it in German. I made up the sentence, the belief it's a grace for me to do this podcast and to bring psyche more in the world. And then I balanced with psyche. That means I asked for permission. Then I asked for the adequate method or technique, because we have a lot of different methods in psyche, and most of them work with the activating and integrating of the both hemispheres, but some work with breathing techniques, yeah, and some of them work with energy, pure energy. And so but the technique was to integrate my both hemispheres, and I did it for 5 minutes about, and then I tested strong when at the end I tried I imagined the start of the interview, the podcast, and then I felt really strong and was looking forward to it. And this is the result. And what is very special for psyche is also that we celebrate at the end always our good result, and that means that I gave me some. How shall I say it in English? Yeah, I touched myself and gave me some soft Streicheleinheiten in German. I cannot translate that. In English, it would be you celebrate. So that was this I did to transform the stress before this situation, before the podcast.
Brunhild, if someone would like to connect with you and learn more about psyche, how would they best go about doing that?
Oh, the best is to go to my website. It's www.energyfocus.de. Energy Focus, it's written in English in one word. Energy Focus. Or my email address is brunhild.bhofmann@energyfocus.de.
And what parting advice would you like to leave with us today?
I'm not good in advising others, and so I was thinking about an advice also for me. This advice would be that I want us to become aware of the thoughts, the feelings, and the situations that make us happy and that awakens love in us and make us blossom. And then let's give these situations and these feelings more and more space in our lives. That's what I wish for all of us.
That's really great advice indeed, and thank you.
Thank you, Billy.
I want to let everyone know, too, that Brunhild has generously donated a copy of her book, Everyday Psych, From I Can't to I Can, that we'll be giving away. So if you would like an opportunity to win, visit the giveaways page at livingbeyondyourfears.com and submit your friend to form today. Brunhild, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. I know you had reservations, so thank you so much for accepting the invitation and coming on and just sharing your wisdom with us today. I really appreciate it.
It was a pleasure for me, Billy.
Thank you for joining me today. And remember, you cannot achieve everything, but you do have the God-given ability to achieve anything. So stay focused, out of fear, and keep on keeping on. Until next time, be well and peaceful. For more information on today's episode and guest, or for resources that will assist you in overcoming your fears, visit livingbeyondyourfears.com. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, where 3 times a week we move to a life beyond our fears.